Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandi, author of 10 young adult novels so far. I started this thing last year, in 2021, where I read one book on what we're now calling professional development every single month. Most of those books were books on writing craft. A couple of them were marketing books. Who knows what they will be this year? I don't know. I have a stack of books that I've been collecting. I think I'm up to 8 now, so I need a couple more. But we're going to start January's book, and we'll go from there. This one comes highly recommended, and also has some fun annotations in it. I'm not sure whose annotations. Might be my sister-in-law, might just be some random individual. I don't know. I know this book was sent to me from her. I don't know if it was sent as in like she took it off her shelf and sent it, or if she bought it. I don't know. But there's things that are marked for sure. Anyway, this is the one that we're going to be reading this month. It's kind of chunky, I'm not going to lie, compared to most of the books that I've been reading. So that should be interesting. I should have gone for, a bunch of small books this year, because I'm spending every single month this year up until August. Or actually, up until September, because August is one of those months. Anyway, I'm spending 8 months rewriting 8 of the 10 published novels that I have. So, it's a crazy year, and I have a lot on my plate. So if I don't finish this in a month, don't judge me. It's January 18th, but let's begin, shall we? I'm sorry if you hear the candle crackling back there. I lit the candle that specifically crackles because I enjoy it, and then I realized I was going to be talking to the camera and was like, well, I always have noises in the background, it's fine. It's on brand. Anyway, I wanted to get on and say before we dive in that this is basically a textbook. It's written for teachers and students in a creative writing classroom setting situation. So, throwing that out there, mostly because the only textbooky writing craft book that I've read so far in the 13 that I've read up to now was Story Structure, and I hated it. So, I'm going into this one with an open mind because my sister-in-law thinks it's the best thing. So I'm expecting to get good things out of it. I just read the preface, and it sounded great and wonderful, and very thoughtful and whatever. So I'm expecting good things. But I just wanted to say up front, the only textbooky book that I have read so far, I did not enjoy. So, we'll see. That's the bar, and we'll see if we, surpass it here. You guys. Line 1. You want to write. Why is it so hard? This is a personal problem I have. This has nothing to do with writing or this book or anything. This is just a personal problem I have. Even when I get stuck or I'm learning new things and I'm like, whoa, that's crazy, I didn't know you could do that. The other night, we had this Enneagram situation in my writing group where we had an Enneagram coach come and talk to us about using the Enneagram to plot characters who will then have all of the blueprint that they need in order to have a story, have a plot, because if you know their Enneagram type, you know their core desires and longings, you know what they want and what they need, you know their strengths and their weaknesses, the things they have to overcome in order to get what they're longing for. You know everything you need to create a story if you have the Enneagram type. You know literally everything, and it's amazing, and I was mind blown, and I was like, this is the best thing that has ever happened, it's amazing. And then I sat down and tried to do it for characters, which turned out to be a little bit hard, but it was great, and I loved it. All that is to say, I'm constantly learning new things, and there are definitely things that I struggle with, per se, like trying to type all my characters the other night, which will probably be on one of my rewrites vlogs, or multiple of my rewrites vlogs, because that's kind of the new way that I'm going to be just doing characters forever now, because I love it. But anyway, the point is, there are things I struggle with, so yes, things are quote-unquote hard, but it never feels hard. Writing feels like the easiest thing in the world, even when I'm struggling to do whatever it is that I'm doing. Like, it's a challenge sometimes, but it's not hard. Like, things that are hard are, like, frustrating and annoying, and I quit because I don't like it. Like, it's not, I don't approach writing and think it's hard. So I guess I just dislike that word connected to writing. And I had to tell you that because it was in the very first line of this book that I'm going into with a very open mind. I turned off the camera, but I should have left it on. There are a few lucky souls for whom the whole process of writing is easy, for whom the smell of fresh paper is better than air, who forget to eat and who consider the world at large an intrusion on their good time at the keyboard. Literally me. Which is then followed up with, but you and I are not among them. We are in love with words except when we have to face them. We are caught in a guilty paradox in which we grumble over our lack of time, and when we have the time, we sharpen our pencils, check our email, and clip the hedges. No, I'm the first group. I feel, okay, to be fair, in many ways this was me in terms of like grumbling about not having time, and then when I had time I definitely wasn't writing. Yeah, for sure, absolutely me, like 6 months ago. But it's not anymore because I have a writing group and like I actually sit down and write every day and I'm super productive and I love my life and like everything is great and like I'm in a really great place in my writing life. We're gonna keep going. We've made it a whole paragraph. I'm gonna put down the camera and actually read this. Okay, I read a chapter of this beauty yesterday. There was discussion about workshops and why they are beneficial to both writers and non-writers alike, which was all fascinating stuff. I enjoyed that. It was basically the chapter on getting started and how to like move past the blank page. So there's discussion on free writing and stream of consciousness writing, where you're just like, keep the words flowing, doesn't matter what I'm saying, just keep going. What was the other thing? Oh, and keeping a journal. All of it was really interesting, really good stuff. With the journal specific, I'm baking cookies, and apparently the cookies think they're done. But anyway, with the journaling specifically, it's interesting because I keep a journal. I've gotten less and less consistent as the years gone on, but I've kept a journal since I was 14. But very differently from the way that the author was describing keeping a journal. Like, I don't describe like people I see in the day, or like a snippet of dialogue that I heard that I was like, oh, I could use that in a book someday. Like, I don't keep track of those things. I might try now because kind of sounds interesting. I don't know. It doesn't sound like something that I would keep up with, especially since I already journal on top of that, like separately. So I don't know. But it was all interesting stuff. I enjoyed chapter 1. Let's see what else we've got. Also, I have to go get those cookies before they burn. So, so far chapter 2 is exactly what I'm dealing with right now in rewriting the Robin Hood series. We're discussing details, and having them, and making them significant, and yada yada. It's been very good stuff, but the part that made me go, yeah, this is definitely what I'm dealing with. One may object that both rewrites of the passage are longer than the original. Oh, there were examples in here. Anyway. Doesn't adding so much detail make for long writing? The answer is yes and no. No, because in the rewrites we know so much more about the values, activities, lifestyles, attitudes, and personalities of the characters that it would take many times the length of the original to tell it all in generalizations. And yes, in the sense that detail requires words, and if you are to realize your characters through detail, then you must be careful to select the details that convey the characteristics essential to our understanding. You can't convey a whole person or a whole action or everything there is to be conveyed about a single moment of a single day. You must select the significant. Anyway, it was just making me think about the rewrites of the Robin Hood series, because the original book is just a whole lot of telling. Just recappy summary sentences. They're like, this is how the person felt and this is what happened in the end. And now that I'm rewriting it, I'm going back and like making scenes out of it and having to find the significant details to add. Anyway, hopefully I'm being successful in that endeavor, but this is good. This is timely. It also reminded me of the anatomy of prose at the very beginning, because we were talking about being definite and particular and exact in our descriptions and details, which is exactly what Sasha Black talks about in her book. You can't be vague. Vague is not allowed. I am excited for chapter 3, specifically because it's about characters, and trying to draw characters that are realistic and also will move my readers. Yeah, trying to draw those sorts of characters from the original Robin Hood series, which I'm rewriting right now, has been interesting. After finding that I could type them with the Enneagram and then like have a complete character profile to work off of, things have gotten much more interesting. But I am hoping that this chapter and the subsequent following ones on character will also aid me in this quest of making these flat people that events just sort of happen to into like well-rounded, interesting people. So I have to ask, was this intentionally a play on Jesus, or did it just happen to be phrased that way? I love this so far. I've read like 2 sentences, but this chapter 4, talking about characters again. Right now we're focused specifically on appearance. We did dialogue in the last chapter, which was actually really good, and I needed it. But anyway, Beauty is only skin deep, but people are embodied, and whatever beauty or ugliness there is in them must somehow surface in order for us to perceive it. Such surfacing involves speech and action as well as appearance, but it is appearance that prompts our first reaction to people, and everything they wear and own presents some aspect of their inner selves. Concerned to see beyond mere appearances, writers are sometimes inclined to neglect this power of the visible. In fact, much of the tension and conflict in character does proceed from the truth that appearance is not reality. But in order to know this, we must know the appearance first. This is really good stuff. This made me laugh. Thought, says Aristotle, is the process by which a person works backward in his mind from his goal to determine what action he can take toward that goal at any given moment. It is not, for example, your ultimate desire to read this book. Very likely you don't even want to read it. You'd rather be sleeping, or jogging, or making love. But your ultimate goal is, say, to be a rich, respected, and famous writer. In order to attain this goal, you reason, you must know as much about the craft as you can learn. To do this, you would like to take a graduate degree at Writer's Workshop in Iowa. To do that, you must take an undergraduate degree at blank, where you now find yourself, and must get an A in Mrs. or Mr. Blank's creative writing course, and to do that, anyway, it goes on, but it was making me laugh. The section on scene and summary has been great, since that's literally what I'm dealing with right now in the rewrites of Lucy's Legend. However, little 17-year-old me from 10 years ago is feeling called out. It is nearly impossible, however, to write a successful story entirely in summary. One of the most common errors beginning fiction writers make is to summarize events rather than to realize them as moments. This is literally what happened. That's it. That's what happened. I am on the section of short stories, which is very interesting. Sorry, my lens was clicking at me just now, and I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, I'm learning all sorts of things about short stories, which is fascinating to me because I don't write them. I find it very difficult because everything has to be relevant and word choice is so important, and it's too much work, you guys, too much pressure. Can't do short stories. But anyway, I got on the camera to read a specific line because I have never written short stories. While no literary form is superior to another, few novelists achieve publication without first having crafted any number of short stories. The greater the limitation of space, the greater the necessity for pace, sharpness, and density. Short stories ask the writer to rise up to the challenges of shaping, showing, and making significance again and again, experiences that later may save the writer countless hours and pages when the time to tackle a novel comes along. Yeah, I don't know. What I'm getting from that is maybe I should have started with short stories, but I did not, and here we are. It took me a very long time to realize that the gray pages mean something. When I first started reading it, I was like, is it chapters? Like each chapter, like there's a gray chapter, and then a white chapter, and gray chapter, white chapter. And that wasn't it. So then I was like, well, maybe it's just pointless. Maybe they just picked random pages to be gray or white. And then today, on like the second chapter I was reading today, it finally dawned on me that the gray pages
are where the example text is, because at the end of every chapter there's like, you know, a few pages of examples from various books and short stories and whatever, like the examples from all sorts of things. But the gray is the examples. And I don't know why I didn't notice that until today. We are 299 pages into this book, and I just figured that out. Also, I feel I should add that I haven't been doing all the exercises at the end of the chapters. Some of them, for sure, like if it's just a scene or journaling or, you know, something. But I haven't done all of them. Okay, we finished it. It was good. There was a lot of good stuff in here. The last chapter I just did on revisions, probably a lot of things that I'm going to be implementing this year as I rewrite 8 books, but the rest of it was full of really good information as well.